Hello super friends and welcome to DC TV Talk. This is the show where we talk all things Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow and Black Lightning. And in today's video we're going to be discussing some of the new characters we're going to be getting in Arrow Season 7 thanks to casting descriptions we have recently received. So let's discuss. 4 casting descriptions that hint towards different characters we could be receiving. So we're going to start off with the first one, which is that while Oliver is in Supermax, Team Arrow will have to contend with an ambitious, young, anti-vigilante recruit at the SCPD. And if vigilantes were vampires, consider her your Buffy. So this is obviously a extremely anti-vigilante character. I believe her name was actually revealed. I believe her name was going to be Jessie, although obviously that could change. A lot of these are going to be, well, actually all of these are going to be fake names most likely. That one could be true. So this is a actual female new recruit at the SCPD. Obviously Team Arrow always tend to have a kind of character within the SCPD who can help them. We obviously had Quinton all this time, and now he's gone. We had Anastas last season, kind of. I don't really know what's happened to Anastas, but I guess we'll find out. But sure, this is basically filling in the same role though, because when you remember Anastas, he was very anti-vigilante until Curtis told him he was Mr. Terrific, and he kind of turned it around. So yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just have to see who this character is, but I feel like she's just going to be one of those side characters who will pop up every now and then. Wiz, who is gay and who harbours a heartbreaking past. Now when I first read this, I immediately thought new Curtis love interest, but then I remembered that there is also another Curtis love interest who I just mentioned, you know, Officer Anastas. So and he, as far as we are aware, is not dead, so why would they be introducing another new one immediately afterwards? But I think as well, I think this character may also be female, and therefore I believe she's actually going to be working for Helix Dynamics, which is obviously Felicity's and Felicity and Curtis's tech startup company. I feel like she's going to be working for them, just because it makes sense that if Oliver's in prison and Felicity perhaps is not helping out Team Arrow, perhaps she's going to put all of her focus onto the startup. It makes sense in that regard. It would make sense. It's a very human thing to do. So if this tech, you know, if Helix Dynamics is really starting to go up and is really starting to, you know, begin, then that would make sense. They would have to get, you know, an extra pair of hands on the scene, and that's who this character could be. Casting descriptions which are hinting at other particular characters. The first one is that Arrow is looking for an actress to fill the role of Konomi Rhodes, who is half Japanese as well as half Caucasian, somewhere in her late 20s to early 30s. Konomi is a formidable fighter who ends up clashing with the heroes of Star City. Her background consists of being a tactician in the military while also carrying on as a street fighter. 3 major choices, one of which is she's going to be a member of the Longbow Hunters, which would make sense. Obviously the Longbow Hunters seem to be becoming a pretty prevalent force going into Season 7, so, and the fact she's clashing with the heroes of Star City, that, you know, would line up there. I feel like that is a very high possibility, but there are also 2 other potential DC Comics characters who they could be fulfilling this role. One of which is Cheshire. Now Cheshire is most likely known to you as a Teen Titans villain, and this would actually make sense if they wanted to bring in Cheshire onto the show. Cheshire's actually been rumoured to come on Arrow for a few years now, and it would make sense to bring her on now. Why? Well, she actually has very close and connections with the character of Roy Harper, who is of course becoming a series regular again in Season 7. So it would make sense that perhaps maybe while Roy was away, maybe he came across this person, who knows? But Roy is becoming a much more prevalent character in Season 7, as like I said, he is being bumped up to a series regular again. So if they wanted to introduce Cheshire, now would definitely be the time to do it. Character could be Lady Shiva, who is a villain who fans have wanted for a long time, especially me. I've been really heavily pushing Lady Shiva for a long time, and if it is Lady Shiva, again, this could make sense, because I made a video a while back about how you could tie in Lady Shiva to Ricardo Diaz and how you could tie her into the Longbow Hunters. Perhaps she is a member of the Longbow Hunters, who knows? Maybe they'll do another Ricardo Diaz type thing where she kind of just comes, she's a member of the Longbow Hunters, but then she'll just kind of, you know, ascend above the rest, kind of like Ricardo ascended above the criminal cabal. They could do something similar to that, or they could just have Lady Shiva be an entirely separate entity. I think it'd be awesome if it's Lady Shiva, but given what's going on next season, and given the fact that Roy is in the season, I really kind of want this to be Cheshire, just to see where they go with that. And the final casting description reads, next up is another recurring character in the form of Daniel Porter, who they are looking for a Caucasian actor in his mid-30s. He is an intelligent and homosexual technological entrepreneur whose creativity has given him a huge success as a businessman. But having gone through tragic losses in his life is something he hides from people around him, thus struggling with shaping new relationships with others. Now, this has sparked massive amounts of speculation that this character is going to be Ted Kord, who is otherwise known as the superhero Blue Beetle. Now, this makes perfect sense. Now, they were actually going to do Ted Kord back in Season 3 of Arrow, but that character actually ended up changing and being adapted into Ray Palmer, who of course was played by Brandon Routh, and who's now on Legends of Tomorrow. So the actual character of Ray Palmer was actually going to be Ted Kord back in Season 3, but due to the fact that there was a Booster Gold movie potentially happening at that point, actually with Greg Berlanti spearheading it, they couldn't actually use Blue Beetle on the show. So they changed it to Ray Palmer and the Atom. And what's interesting is when they actually released the casting call for this character back then, they also used the name Daniel as far as I remember. So this is very interesting that they're actually using that name again to bring up this character. And also when you look at, a Caucasian actor, that makes sense, that lines up with Ted Kord, mid-30s, again, lines up. Intelligent and homosexual, technological entrepreneur, that again makes sense, huge success as a businessman. And this would also make sense considering that the Ted Kord version of Blue Beetle doesn't actually have superpowers, which would fit well for Arrow. It's literally just the suit, similarly to Ray Palmer. Also, that would kind of eliminate the Blue Beetle on the show being Jaime Reyes, because Jaime Reyes actually is a metahuman, whereas Ted Kord literally is a businessman with a suit, again, similar to Ray Palmer. You could see how Ray Palmer was basically the Ted Kord of the universe, but now it seems like we are getting Ted Kord. Also, Kord Industries has been referenced so many times, particularly on Arrow, so we kind of know that Ted Kord exists in this universe, so he's already kind of pre-established, so you don't have to do much introduction. You can literally be like, oh yeah, Kord, you're the guy who owns Kord Industries, and you wouldn't have to really set that up too much. So again, it makes perfect sense for this to be Ted Kord, and this is really exciting if Blue Beetle is actually coming on to Arrow. But what do you guys think about all these casting calls? Tell me in the comment section below what you think about it. Who do you think these characters are? What do you think their roles are going to be? I think the most interesting one is definitely that Commodore Rhodes, just because there's a lot of speculation as to who that could be. I mean, it's extremely exciting that Daniel Porter could end up being Ted Kord, but I feel like this Commodore Rhodes character, or Konomi Rhodes, sorry, is got a few different options to it. Like, it could be the Longbow Hunters, could be Cheshire, could be Lady Shiva. That it's really exciting to kind of speculate who that character could be. And also, like I said, each one of those characters has kind of like a different role that they could play on the show, especially Cheshire, who would be very relevant if they're bringing back Roy Harper, which they are. So tell me all your thoughts in the comment section down below about all these different castings. Also, if you like the content I make here and you want to see more, make sure you check out my podcast, which is called Honor Thy Podcast. It is a weekly DCTV/Arrowverse podcast that I do with Mule Kick Media, where we discuss all things from Supergirl to Flash to Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow, all of it. We discuss it all there. There's a link in the description. Make sure you go check that out if you want to see more content like this on another channel. So, thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a like. It'll help me out a lot. And share this video with anyone and everyone you know who loves DC TV and get them to join the community. And as always, guys, please subscribe for all of your latest content on Supergirl, The Flash, Legends of Tomorrow, Arrow, and Black Lightning. And with all that said, guys, I hope to see you again in my next video.